Hello everyone, welcome once again, and today we'll start with a new topic, that is style of gardening. So before we learn about the style of gardening, we'll discuss a little in brief about the history of gardening. So the historical development of gardens in various countries during the earlier period had set different style of gardening. Different style of gardening, and then there is no rules or regulation that time in the olden period that in this area we will do this type of gardening or that type of gardening, but it was all mixed gardening. So and one very old example of garden is the hanging gardens of Babylon, which becomes one of the seven wonders of the old world. And during the 16th and 17th century, the flowers dominated the garden developed in Italy and other European countries. The flower production was more in the 16th 17th century in the Italy and in the country of Italy and European countries. And if we talk about the gardening in India is an old civilization of Harappa and Mohenjo-daro civilization in the 2500 BC, that is before Christ. And then the trees were associated with human life in many ways during that period. They used to worship plants like Ficus religiosa and Ficus bengalensis. And then it's even used for shelter and for stay. Like even people who are monks or who are Buddhists, they used to go and they used to find shelter under the trees, under the thick trees. So and then not only that, but it appears that in ancient India there was no particular design, shape and size of a garden. Like I said previously, that there was no definite rules for making a garden. And some of the example of it is like gardening during the Vedic and Epic era, and even the gardening during Mughal era, and even the Rajput gardens and the British period gardening. So and even the post-independence period gardening. But today we will learn about the most common garden style, which is based on the form and shape. They are the formal and informal garden. So firstly, we'll discuss about the formal style of gardening. So what is a formal style of gardening? It is a symmetrical type of design. Which is like the quality of being similar or equal. And here the first thing that we have to keep in mind is that it should be made on paper. The plan should be made on paper, and then the land is decided later. Like firstly you have to write or you have to draw on the paper. After that only you have to decide the land, like where you're gonna perform, where you're gonna imply this formal type of gardening. And second is the flower beds. The borders and shrubs are arranged geometrically designed, like for example in a circular form or in a square shape or rectangular shape. And the trees can be selected as an individual features, like it should be of like the same species. And then like for example, suppose if you are planting Ashoka tree, so in that whole area it should be Ashoka tree only, that land where you are planning to do this formal gardening. And number 4 is about the hedges. The hedges, edges and topiary are to be trimmed. And even the shrubs and all are to be trimmed. And then like you can see here, for example, this is one example of formal style of gardening, that is the Mughal gardens of Rashtrapati Bhavan. Even in a formal style of gardening, some of the example are like Mughal garden, Persian garden, Italian, French, and Chinese, American, etc. And one example that I showed in this is about Mughal gardens that you can find in India only in at Rashtrapati Bhavan. And now we'll discuss about the informal gardening. So what is informal gardening? Is totally opposite to formal gardening, where what I was saying before, that informal gardening, it should be symmetrical design, that is the quality of being similar, or everything should be equal. Even if you trim a tree, so like suppose there are 5 tree, okay, of same species, so all the trees should be trimmed like symmetrically, like it should be equal. So in informal garden, it's totally the opposite. The plants are arranged asymmetrically without following any hard or fast rule. Like here you don't follow a hard or fast rule, okay. It's like totally opposite from the formal garden. And the plan, like whatever plan, जो भी प्लान आप प्लान बनाते हो, जैसे इवन इन द फर्स्ट, लाइक इन द फर्स्ट दैट फॉर्मल गार्डनिंग, लाइक जो प्लान बनाते हो वो पेपर में पहले बनाते हो. सो इन इनफॉर्मल यू फोर्स दैट प्लान टू फिट द लैंड, ओके, टू फिट द लैंड. और इसका जो मेन एम है इज टू कैप्चर, द मेन एम इज टू कैप्चर नेचुरल सीनरी, okay. And then like informal, it is totally geometrical, okay, geometrical design bed. But in informal, it is non-geometrical beds and borders. And here there is no trimming needed. You don't need to trim or prune the plants, the trees. And then the plan, like the plan which you are going to plan also, suppose for example trees, it should mostly be of native or of local species, जो वहाँ का area पे, like which are more popular in that area, okay, which are more popular in that area. And then like for example, like I can give you an example. There is one type of fruit tree that is present in Meghalaya. So that particular tree is present there only, it's not present anywhere. So like if you plant that tree, only that tree, that species only should be planted in informal gardening, okay. So and then for example which comes under informal gardening are English gardening and Japanese gardening. Remember, in formal gardening it is Mughal gardening, Persian gardening, Italian gardening, and in like this informal gardening, the example are English gardening, and next is the Japanese gardening. Now we'll discuss about the other types of gardening, that is the freestyle gardening and the wild style gardening. So in freestyle gardening, this style of garden is the combination of both formal and informal gardening, okay. You combine both the style of gardening, that is the formal and informal. Why? To secure the most attractive and charming like area, to secure the beauty, the attractiveness, okay, of that particular land. For example, like a rose garden at Ludhiana, okay, rose garden at Ludhiana, that is, you can see from the like from the left side, that is the rose garden at Ludhiana, that is in Punjab, okay. And wild style gardening. So wild style gardening was given by William Robinson in the last decade of the 19th century, okay. It was given by William Robinson. And then here there is no rules are follow, there is no rules are follow, but the aims is to make the garden beautiful and natural. Like for example, if a grass grass should remain unmount, okay, unmount, like you shouldn't like what I'll say, trim it or like harvest it or anything, but you have to, like it should remain unmount as in a native with few bulbous plant like what, bulbous plant like gladiolus flower, and then like gerbera, okay. These are like some of the bulbous plant, and they are grown like scattered, okay, scattered, like they won't grow only in for example, like for formal gardening, how you gonna do, like you have to see it should be geometrical, and like the borders, like border wise you have to grow, okay, border wise you have to grow the flowers and all. But here it's like randomly you should plant the like the seeds, the flowers, the bulbs and all, okay, you have to plant it randomly. Why? To imitate the wild scenery, okay, to imitate the wild scenery. And then the creepers which are like creepers, climbers, okay, they are allowed to grow near or over the trees, imitating those which are present in the forest, okay, like they are trying to follow or imitate the forest nature, okay. So this is one example, and you can see from the right side, that is a picture of a wild style of gardening. You can get more from the net, and then you can get it more like if you want to see more like pictures which comes under this type of gardening. So these are some example of freestyle garden and wild style garden. Now, based on the form, whether formal or informal, the following garden style came into pictures. Firstly, we'll discuss about the English garden. So, in English garden, it is the most beautiful type of gardening among the European garden, and in this mainly it is mainly practiced in England, okay, in the England country, and it's typical grassland climate in England. And then the rich people, okay, if you see another thing, that is the rich people, it is the rich people hobbies, okay, it's their hobbies, and they are really fond of flowers. And this type of gardening, it start in the 14th to 16th century, okay, it start in the 14th to 16th century. And then in the 18th century, the British garden designer, okay, the British garden designer or architect, that is the Capability Brown and Ken, they make it a more, like they modify it more, okay, this English type of gardening. And you can get one more example of this this one of a garden designer, that is Charles Howard, okay, in 1699 he built a castle, okay, he built a castle, Howard, by engaging together with him with Mr. John Van Berg. It consists of various architecture elements and sculpture, okay. So this is another example, okay, like how these some of the the landscape designer, okay, who or the architects or the architecture of gardening, they have performed the English type of gardening. So some of the main features of English gardens is the lawn, and then the mixed border of herbs or perennial flowers, and the flower beds, and the artificial gardening, and the curve and then informal group of trees, and even the artificial waterfalls, okay. So these are some of the main features. You have to keep this in mind, that there should be like a lawn, and there should be mixed border, there should be flower beds, there should be artificial garden, okay. So here there is one example of English garden, that is cottage garden. And then another example is this Royal Botanic Garden, which is located at Kew. And then this was established in the 1757, okay, in the year 1757. So these are some of the example of English garden. So now we'll discuss about the Mughal garden and the Italian garden. So what is Mughal garden? This you can see an example in India only. This is actually a photo of Rashtrapati Bhavan, okay, and then I think I already showed you one slide also, okay. So this one, Mughal garden in India, it's a garden in the sense of enclosed space grown with plants for the sake of beauty, okay, for the sake of beauty of their flowers, is a gift of the Mughals, and the gardens laid out during the rule of the Mughal emperor. So from there only you can understand that why it got the name Mughal garden. Okay, because it was laid out during the rule of the Mughal emperor, so that's why it's known as the Mughal garden. And Babur was the first Mughal ruler to introduce this style of gardening in India. Okay, and all the other Mughal rulers, starting from Akbar, Jahangir, Shah Jahan, Aurangzeb, okay, Begum like Nur Jahan, all laid an important part in developing the Mughal garden in India. And the garden laid out by Mughal were more or less like that of Persian garden. Okay, more or less like that of Persian garden, with slight changes. Okay, thora changes, like only slight changes of planting material. Okay, planting material like flower types or tree types. Okay, the type of trees to suit topography and other climatic. Okay, other climatic condition of Indian site, like which is suitable for that climate of that place. Okay, according to that we will do the plantation. So its history was, Babur was the first, okay, person, like I already said before. He was the first person to lay the foundation of the Mughal Empire in India. In which year? In the year 1526 AD. In the year 1526 AD. He laid out a garden at Agra, now known as Rambagh. Okay, and then Akbar during his reign in 1556 to 1605 AD built a garden, Nazim Bagh, close to Dal Lake in Kashmir. Okay, these are some of the examples that I'm telling. And even Jahangir also during his reign in 1605 to 1625 AD developed garden at Shalimar. Okay, at Shalimar in Kashmir. Okay, and even Shah Jahan, that is very common. Okay, even he established a garden at Red Fort and Taj Mahal in Agra in memory of his wife Mumtaz. So these are some of the example, and I'll tell the main features. I'll be sharing with you the features. Okay, the main features of this Mughal garden. The first, they have almost 7 to 8 main features. The first thing is like the choice of site. Okay, because the Mughal laid great stress on the choice of site for construction of gardens. Okay, so Mughal always prefer a site on a hill slope, on a hill slope with a perennial, okay, with a perennial rivulet or along the bank of river. Okay, near the river or near the hill slope. And the design, the Mughal gardens are generally rectangular. They are generally rectangular or square in shape with different architectural features. Thirdly is the surrounding walls and gates, where you can see that the Mughal gardens are invariably enclosed by high walls. Okay, there are high walls sculpture. Okay, and then artistically and with an imposing wooden gate at the entrance. And then the purpose of high wall was for protection. Okay, that's why in this Mughal garden, the main features is also that they prefer high walls for the protection from the enemies and the hot winds. Okay, and fourth is the terrace. The Mughal came from the hilly terrain, and so they were fond of terraces in the garden. Okay, terraces in the garden. So they used to select location of gardens near hilly slope. Okay, near hilly slope. And then even some of the examples are the running water. They also include that. And then the Baradari. This is a harbor like structure. Okay, Baradari is a harbor like structure made up of masonry and stones. Okay, with a with a pakka roof and a raised platform for sitting. Okay, a raised platform for what? For sitting. provided with what? With 12 or more doors on all the site for the emperors. Okay, why? For the emperors to watch the performance of the girls dancing. Okay, because there was some culture during that time, in the olden time, because that time there was no television, or there was no what I'll say, like television or anything. So what they used to do, okay, they used to entertain themselves by calling out some performance, who gonna perform, who gonna dance. Okay, so during their dance, this baradari, okay, this is one structure which is made by stone with a pakka roof, and then where the people used to sit. Okay, and it have how many doors? It have 12 or more doors from all the side, and the emperors from there, they used to watch the performance from there. And even the tombs or mosque, it is common in practice to have a garden built around a tomb. Okay, so like a tomb is there where you tomb or a mosque. Okay, so it is common in the Mughal garden, and then there they build a tomb. Okay, and then this practice is very common. Example like Taj Mahal at Agra, and Akbar tomb, okay, at Sikandara. And then lastly is the trees. It is the plants, that is the trees and flowers and the flower beds. Okay, so these are some of the example, and then I will give you the notes so you can learn from it more, and you can get more detail. And if you have any doubt, you can ask the question. And then next is the Italian garden. Okay, we'll discuss about the Italian garden. So Italian garden is what type of garden? The Italian garden style came into existence at the time of Renaissance, that is in the 14th to 16th century BC. Okay, during the 14th to 16th century BC, the Italian garden were influenced by what? The Italian garden were influenced by the Persian garden, which we have discussed before. That is, they use a heavy masonry features. Okay, heavy masonry features. The Italian Renaissance, okay, created during the period of 16th and 17th century, were very formal. They were very formal and unrelated to nature. It was totally unrelated to nature. And they conceived their gardens just as an extension of their lavish palaces. Okay, as a glamorous outdoor. They focus mostly on the outdoor, that the outdoor should be very glamorous. For what? For entertainment. Okay, and pleasing. And then with the fall of the Roman Empire, okay, Roman Empire, when they were reigning, and during their fall, the fall of Roman Empire, the art of gardening sharply declined in Italy. Okay, it sharply declined. It was totally it decreased. So but the greatest benefit the Italian garden style brought to gardening is that it taught the entire, मतलब जो entire Europe है, it taught the entire Europe that gardening could be a most respectable form of art, which demands thorough and careful study. Okay, so some of the important features of the Italian garden is the fountain. Like you can see here in the picture, there is a picture of a fountain. Okay, you can see fountain, and there is a sculpture also by side. Like you can see lion sculpture by side. Okay, sculpture, and then water canal, hedges, edges. Okay, and then stairs, marbles, decorative urns. So, and then trees and roses are very commonly grown. Okay, commonly grown plants in the Italian garden. So these are some of the example that comes under the Italian garden.